Welcome to RetroLogic, episode 65. I'm Dan Caporello, here with John Cummins and Sam Wagers. And that's it. Just the three of us tonight. Againsies. I thought, beginning of the year, I thought we'd, lay a foundation. Here's the crew, and then we'll throw some guests in here and there. But RetroLogic isn't just a podcast, it's also a blog. You can visit retrologic.games, click blog at the top, and check out fresh content every month from our good buddy Sam, who just launched an awesome article all about both a retrospective and history of Treasure, the developer. And that's actually the show topic tonight. So that's cool. We are in full swing in mid-ish January with Odama Rama. So hopefully you have your copy of Odama and your microphone and your rubber band or your microphone clip. I used a rubber band tonight. I played today and I slung the rubber band around the two hooks of the controller and attached the microphone at the top, and that worked. It works just fine.
That's more sophisticated than I do. I just kind of palm it inside my hand while clutching one end of the GameCube controller.
Yeah, I could do that. I feel like that would... I have a Wavebird, so there's not a lot of real estate for my hands to maneuver like that, but it is what it is. Anywho, guys, let's talk about what we've been playing, what we've been buying this week. John, why don't you go first since you haven't said anything yet? How are you, by the way?
Oh, not too bad. Doing pretty good. Riding the high of my football team making it playoffs.
Yay, sports.
Yeah, sports. I do some sports still.
It's fine. It's good. Gotta have hobbies outside of gaming, I guess.
Yeah. Well, for me, I didn't pick up a whole lot this week. I grabbed The Witch and the Hundred Knight for the PS3. I grabbed a lot of broken things from you that made it today.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
Super Nintendo controller, Game Boy, and Sonic Adventure DX that I'm still not sure why it doesn't work.
Did you try it?
Into it a little bit more. Yeah, it didn't read. I'm gonna try to get a resurface and see if it does anything.
It's so weird because it looks perfect.
Yeah, it just has a handful of scratches on it. That's it.
Tiny little hair scratches. To the naked eye, it looks new. So I don't know. Maybe there's something up with the top layer. Yeah,
it could be. It looks like it's all intact too, but I don't know.
The Super Nintendo controller, the start button works a good 30% of the time. So
yeah, I opened it up
like a fun project.
Clean the contacts on it really well. I'm gonna give it a shot and see what that does.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Game Boy, I'm gonna do a new screen and a new case and everything for it.
Nice. Did you fire it up?
Do a backlight. The Game Boy, not yet.
Okay. All right. I'm praying it it worked. That's how I tested it out because it worked when I had it. So
yeah.
I didn't try it before I sent it to you.
No, and I just need it to power up. That's all I need because I'm going to replace the whole front board. So
right. Sweet.
And then last but not least, thanks. I picked up a PS5 this week. I know it's not really retro related, but
but that's a big deal because nobody can get one still.
Yeah, it was really weird. I hadn't really been trying to find one all too hard over the last year, and then the last month or so, I was kind of looking for one. Still haven't ever seen one in a store. I just happened to get an alert from a game forum that I'm a part of, and said that Target had some for store pickup. So I went in real quick on the app and bought it. Kind of surprised it was as easy as it was, and then just went and picked it up.
Dang.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, congrats, man. That's good stuff.
Yeah. The only thing I've played this week is a little bit of Assassin's Creed Valhalla on PS5. So I bought it on PS4 and it had a free upgrade. So I'm going to take advantage of as many free PS5 games as I can before I buy any.
Right. What are you planning on picking up when you buy?
I want to get Bug Snacks. I want to get Horizon whenever it comes out in February. and I'll get all the Sony first party games like God of War and stuff like that.
Cool.
Other than that, though, those are the two main ones I picked it up for.
Sweet. Awesome. All right, Sam, what did you pick up? What did you play this week?
So I don't have any new pickups this week, but I did circle back to a game that I'd started before, put on hold because I kind of started up right after I finished the first Front Mission game. But I also have Front Mission Gun Hazard, which is a Super Famicom game. Wasn't released in the US, but I'm using a translation patch to play that on my Super NT, and it is a whole lot of fun. This is basically the controls of Cybernator in a lengthy RPG type structure. With like missions and a whole world map you can travel around, and you level up and you unlock new equipment. You can customize your mech, and you actually recruit companions too. I actually learned recently that you can even play 2-player in this game. It's a little awkward because your friend would have to like jump into your file, and they're kind of limited in what they can do, but they can take control of one of the companion characters. You don't unlock them right away. But yeah, you have all these different allies you can recruit that'll follow you around and help you fight enemies and all that stuff. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. I highly recommend it to anybody that has a means to appreciate it, because it really isn't like anything else on the Super Nintendo that I've played. It was made in collaboration between Square, who does the Front Mission series, and the team that made Cybernator. So that's why I bring up the comparison. It controls almost exactly like it. But yeah, it really is like a very unique game, and probably not for everybody, but I love it. The other thing that I did get a chance to play is actually with some members of our community. I played a game of Top Shop on the PlayStation. That's a game I've brought up before. It's kind of like Fortune Street, sort of Monopoly-like, very weird Japanese board game type game. But I got to play that on Piepacker,
nice.
Using their Bring Your Own Game feature, which I have until next month with Flightsy and Llaffer, Jesse from the Nintendo Dads.
Hey.
From our community. So we actually got through a whole game, and Jesse just kind of swept in from behind at the very end. It looked like Flightsy was going to run away with it, and he like started getting a bunch of money, and then he pulled a card that made everybody have the same amount of money he had, and then Jesse just landed on the bank the next turn and won. So that's the kind of BS that happens in these types of games.
Yeah,
so
that's a Mario
Party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back to Gun Hazard real quick. Is that so? It's like RPG-ish. So I was gonna ask if it's the kind of thing that you need a translation patch for, or if you could get around it without it. But it sounds like
you're gonna need to navigate menus. Is the main thing.
Right.
You can I know there is a GameFAQs guide that just kind of outlines these are all the menus in the game. These are what they look like. Yeah. The third option down is weapons. I mean, you can technically. There's still going to be a lot of text thrown at you.
Yeah.
But you don't really make dialogue choices. It's a very linear game. Mm-hmm. You would just miss a lot of context for what's going on. Yeah, I would recommend using the patch if you don't know Japanese.
Because it sounds awesome. The two Japanese games that I own and play are Game Boy Wars and Yoshi's Topsy Turvy. Yoshi's Topsy Turvy is a platformer. I don't need to know what's going on. But Advance Wars, if I didn't have a general understanding of Advance Wars already, then I would not be able to play Game Boy Wars. But because I'm familiar enough with the series, and the story doesn't affect you that much, things just kind of happen on screen. It makes sense to me. But yeah, I'm always curious now, like what I could get away with in a Japanese game.
Yeah, and there are a lot that you can get away with more.
Yeah.
Like I mean one of the ones I have for Super Nintendo is Mario and Wario.
I have
That game is entirely in English. Like it's not, all the text is English. It doesn't even make sense. It didn't come out here, but
yeah.
there is literally no barrier except like if you don't have a region-free system. To my knowledge, with the Super Nintendo, technically there's not any modding of the internals you have to do. It's actually a matter of making the cartridge fit because they're shaped differently.
Yeah, it's a different pin set, though, isn't it? That's why they make adapters.
I don't want to say something wrong, and then somebody who listens to our show is going to be like, I destroyed my Super Nintendo.
Somebody go look it up.
I've never tried it myself.
While I do my bought and played, somebody go look it up and let me know when I'm done.
I could be wrong, but I think it's like a different number of pins, similar to how Famicom and NES is different.
They look very similar.
They do.
So this week I picked up my copy of Advance Wars and Dual Strike. Both came in from the from a trade that I did online. That worked out really well for me. I'm really happy to own those games again. I need to pick up Days of Ruin and 2 still to have the whole series, North American series. And my local has a copy of Days of Ruin, but I'm not a huge fan of the price they're asking. So I may pick up a UK copy because I think the DS is region free. This is always a question that I have. GBA is region free, but I don't remember the DS or not. I know 3DS is region locked. But the other game I picked up this week finally is my local had a copy of Windwaker HD. And it's just one of those games that I just have to own. You know, it's my favorite Zelda game. It's the best version of that Zelda game. And back when I sold all my Wii U stuff to get a Switch, you know, I wasn't thinking about collecting. I wasn't a collector back then. But, you know, now it needs to be in my library. So there it is. Really nice copy. Super happy to have that back. Would love to have Twilight Princess as well, but that game's a bit more expensive. And I don't want to pay right now. So we'll see if that maybe... I don't know. Maybe there'll be a Switch version of Twilight Princess. I don't know or not, but we'll see. So this week I got to actually play some stuff. So had a friend come over. Who came over? I guess it was my friend Sam, my brother-in-law Sam. We played some 2-player Mario Tennis for the N64. Not on NSO, on original hardware. And I love that game. Mario Tennis for the N64 is amazing. Like, it's super good. I forget that it's great, but it's like probably one of my favorite tennis games of all time. Just really easy to play, simple. They didn't like go too crazy with all the superpowers or anything. It's just, you know, nice, simple tennis game, Mario characters. Yeah, N64 really nailed it with that. And then I played a bit of Dual Strike just to kind of like test out the cartridge and you know, that game still holds up so good. And then I played a bit of Odama tonight as part of Odama Rama, and boy, is that game a whole lot of pandemonium and randomness. Like there's a lot going on all at once. And I'm not really sure yet how everything like fits together. I had to play the first level probably 7 or 8 times to finally beat it because the dang ball kept going, you know, in between my flippers. And that's an immediate game over unless you have extra balls, which you don't on the first level. So it's
always a game over.
It's immediate game over. But like, you know, if you play normal pinball, you have more than one ball, right? So
well, it'll click at some point, and then you'll get to the next stage, and you'll realize you don't know anything.
Yeah, right. I mean, I eventually beat it, and it's cool to be able to like shout commands into my controller, and like the guys do what I say on screen. But But like there were a couple times where so in the first level you have to like stop you have to drop a dam to stop the river from flowing so your troops can walk across it. And I did that. I stopped the water and I told them to push forward, and then the ball went over and like smashed the dam. So it opened again, and then all my guys fled down the river and they all died. And then I got a game over. So that was a thing.
Yep.
So
I think everybody does that.
It's kind of one of those games.
Stage.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those games where you have to just embrace the chaos and like be one with it, and like kind of like just keep trying, just try again. Because it is really fun. I definitely see the appeal. But it's just super weird.
And it's all because by default, like the Odama, which is the giant ball you're pinballing around, crushes your troops as well as enemy troops.
Yeah,
it is designed
it's
to
the great equalizer.
Make you feel like a horrible person because while they're being crushed by this giant ball commanded by their own general, they will shout out things like, "Tell my wife and kids I love them."
It's your fault. Yeah, that's great. So anyway, that's all I did this week. What do you say, you guys? What do you say?
Hey, 1 second. Back to the Super Nintendo and Super Famicom.
Yes.
There are the same amount of pins. You just have to modify your Super Nintendo to allow the cartridge to go in. Some way.
So I was more or less correct.
Yeah.
I believe. Yep. At least that's what I'm seeing here too. Is essentially you can accomplish it by removing the top of your housing. At that point you should be able to fit the cartridge in.
Another one too is that if you just go to your local and buy a NES game or a Super Nintendo game that you don't care to just take the PCB out of, you can just put the Super Famicom one into a US game cartridge and just put it in your.
I was also seeing how some people actually use a Game Genie adapter to basically just solve that problem.
Yeah, you could do that as well. If you have a Game Genie, it's open on the top. You just slide your.
Now that I remember, my local used to sell. They used to call it like a Japan adapter, but it was literally just like a shorter Game Genie, where it was just a straight pin that you put in your Super Nintendo, and then you could plug a different cartridge in on top. And he had one for the Super Nintendo and N64. Because the N64, you just like shave some pins off and you could do it. But if you don't want to shave pins off of your precious N64, then use the adapter.
It's the same way with the N64s. You can also just change out the back of your cartridge with the US one, and it will work.
Yeah, the N64 was pretty much the same looking in all regions. So,
yep.
Great. Well, yeah. Then let's play some Prices Retro, guys. If this is your first time playing the Prices Retro games with us, what we do is we play a few different games, trivia base, and we'll tell you how to play each of them as we go through them. The first one we play is called the Prices Retro, and what we do is I'm going to list off 4 or 5 games, and you're going to guess how much the games are worth in total, and then whoever is closest, and we're all going to guess, and everybody has a list, and whoever is closest to guessing that lot wins that lot. And whoever guesses the closest on the most number of lots wins. Hopefully that made sense to you. If not, you'll get the gist of it. Good deal. We have Flightsy with a list for us, per usual. He's always good about that, always dropping lists. I really appreciate it. And tonight, we're going to start with John. John's going to list off his games, and we're going to guess the price. Go ahead, dude.
Alrighty. So my first game is SNK vs. Capcom Card Fighters Clash. Complete in box for the Neo Geo Pocket Color.
Oh, complete in box?
Oh, yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
These are all complete in box, and they're all Neo Geo Pocket Color games.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, man.
Biomotor Unitron for the, like I said, complete in box for the Neo Geo Pocket Color. Dark Arms Beast Busters, 1999. And I think it's Facile. It's an RPG. Also complete in box for the Neo Geo Pocket Color.
Mm-hmm. How many games? 4?
4. Yep.
Okay. $800.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, 'cause
Reasonably
I
confident
don't
that Dan
know.
is too high. I'm going to say 470.
Literally no way. 470? No way. No way. Complete in box? You're crazy.
But I'm not sure about complete in box stuff.
And Sam, you said 470.
Yep.
All right. So the total value of my lot is $759.78.
Oh, man.
That's because complete in box. Neo Geo Pocket games. Good luck finding any Neo Geo Pocket games.
The
Anywhere.
Pocket games are not as bad as the
Most of
the
them
Neo
are.
Geo
I've
home
looked at them
console.
before. I think Beast Busters is pretty high, though.
Yeah. Okay, so SNK versus Capcom Card Fighters Clash is $101.18 complete in box. Biomotor Unitron complete in box is $140.11. Dark Arms Beast Busters 1999 is $149.99, and Facile is $368.50.
Yeah, so I wasn't even close on any of these. I just knew that they were expensive.
You just went $200 a piece.
I
straight
did. I was
across,
just like,
didn't you?
I don't know, but they're probably really expensive. Like, ridiculous. That was the pure luck with like a little bit of like, I kind of know that they're impossible to find. So, Sam, go ahead.
All right. I have a list of 5 this week. These are all shoot 'em ups. Not a genre I know a whole lot about, but I did a little research. So I've got Steel Empire for the Sega Genesis complete. These are actually all going to be complete for the sake of easiness.
Thank you.
Or, yeah, all complete at any rate. Psychosis for the TurboGrafx 16. Insector X for the Sega Genesis. Viewpoint for the Neo Geo CD.
Oh my gosh.
And Einhander for the PlayStation.
Einhander. That's Square's shmup, isn't it?
Yep.
You know what? Let's go 800 again. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about 800 tonight, guys.
I think I'm going to go 700.
800 and 700. Well, I guess if I was guessing correctly on this lot, I would have been close because the total is $437.78.
So that's actually the ghost,
So-
huh?
Steel Empire is 88.50. Psychosis is 92.54. Insector X is 52. Viewpoint is 55.90, and Einhander is 148.84.
Goodness. I was right on Einhander.
There you go.
So it's just I hadn't heard of most of those games, so that's crazy. So I have 1 point. The Ghost has 1 point. I think, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll go now. So these are all games that have numbers in the title, but the number has nothing to do with the order in which these games came out. Like, it's not like the second or the ninth or the fourth of them. It's just a number that's in the game. So we've got Mega Man 64 for the N64, loose. Killer 7 for the GameCube, complete in box. Wild 9 for the PlayStation, complete in box. And 40 Winks for the PlayStation, complete in box. 40 Winks originally slated for the N64, moved to the PlayStation. Yep. I think it was on the N64 in Japan, maybe?
I think it got reissued to the 64 here recently.
Oh.
Actually put on a cartridge, I believe.
Like as a repro?
Yep.
Mega Man 64 was loose?
Yep.
Mega Man 64 was a cartridge, so it was loose, yes. I thought my theme was clever. It was actually a little difficult to come up with the last one, so I went Mega Man 64. Because I was like, oh yeah, like every N64 game does that. It's not the 64th Mega Man.
I think I'm going to go 300.
Okay.
I'm thinking 250.
Actual retail price is $160.80. Low list this week. That's Sam. Yep. Won that one. Mega Man 64 is worth $55. Wild 9 for the PlayStation is $16.16. 40 Winks for the PlayStation is $20.10, and then I skipped one. Killer 7 for the GameCube is $69.54. I thought 40 Winks would be more expensive because it's the Mario Killer.
I did too.
So, so Sam, you won my lot, and so we're tied up right now.
With the ghost.
John has 0 points, but we'll see. Maybe we'll change that, and then we'll have to do a tiebreaker. We have a list from Flightsy, good old Flightsy. We have to guess what the theme of the list is going to, or what the games are going to be based on the theme, which is brand new games. Brand new games is the title of the list. I'm gonna guess that they're all games that came out this week. Did any games come out this week?
I don't know. Maybe they have new in the title, like New Super Mario Bros.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. All right, let's see these guys. Let me move my notes over so I can do two things at once, which is hard. Okay, game number 1. Oh, Sam, you were so right. New Super Mario Bros. For the DS. New. Okay, so these are sealed games. New Super Mario Bros. For the DS. Sealed. New Adventure Island for the TurboGrafx 16. Sealed. Low.
Good gosh.
The new Tetris for the N64. Sealed. This is ridiculous. New Carnival games for the Wii. Sealed. New Carnival games? Is that a game? I'm about to check that later. Not familiar with new Carnival games, but I'm sure there was a sequel and I never knew about it because I didn't follow that. And the new Chess Master for the Game Boy. New. Sealed.
Jeez.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have like no benchmarks for new games.
It really depends on the game.
Up.
Yeah, it really depends on the game.
does.
Some of them are like very reasonably priced for brand new. It's like, who cares?
I think I have to go first. I'm due to go first,
Go ahead.
so I will. I'm just going to say 500.
Okay. I'm going to say 680. John?
I think I'm going to go 1,000.
Oh, okay. Actual retail price is $7.90.50.
I believe that goes to Dan.
Am I closer than John? Yeah, that I am closer than John. Okay, cool, sweet. Here's the values. We have New Super Mario Bros. Hang on. Yep. New Super Mario Bros. New DS, new whatever, $39.67, which seems very low for a sealed DS game.
Slightly above retail price.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there was a lot of them. I don't know. Tetris, the new Tetris is $165.95. The new Adventure Island is $498.74. Yeah,
That's the one that threw me off.
a
Then.
lot. TurboGrafx games, we should have known, right? New Carnival games, $23.14, and the new Chessmaster, $63 with again a total of $790.50. And of course, he's got his explanation. He says, "I'm using this list to make fun of those quote unquote new games that are now over a decade old. Ironically, each of these games have older entries in the series whose names have aged better due to not announcing newness. Honorable mentions go to Yoshi's New Island, New Pokemon Snap, because they aren't old enough yet, and the new 3D golf simulation for Super Famicom for being the first entry in the series." That's funny. New 3D golf simulation, but it's the first one. It's the new one, guys. Awesome. Thank you, Flightsy. And that means, guys, that I have won Price is Retro this week because I won Flightsy's list and I won John's list. John, no points this week, dude. You can get back on your game there.
I'm slipping, man.
Yeah. We do have...
I haven't won but once, I think.
Huh?
You've only won once this year.
I think I've won both games this year so far. Right?
Well, I mean, I've
Didn't
only
I
won
win
once
one?
this season.
Oh, the season. Since October? Yeah. No way.
And this year is just this week and last week.
Well, you did miss a few episodes, though.
I've missed quite a few now.
Let's play another game, guys. We have a game called Spot the Fake, where we have a list of video game titles, and they're all real, except for one. We need to find out which one. The Ambassador hits us with our first one, and here are the games. Let me drag my notes back over to where they were, and then I will read them. We have Humans versus Stuffed Animals, Muppets Take Manhattan Adventures, Cool World starring Brad Pitt and a bunch of cartoons.
Is that the actual title?
You know, the starring Brad Pitt and a bunch of cartoons part is in parentheses.
Okay.
So if that's his answer, I'm going to call BS on this whole list. Because Larry Kasonka's Super Kick Championship. The Next Karate Kid starring Hilary Swank and Pat Morita. And Bomberman versus Waluigi, Wah Kaboom.
That's the fake. That's the fake one.
Man, Ambassador,
Wario Blast is real.
Listen, dude, you can't throw.
Bomberman never fought Waluigi.
You can't throw Nintendo stuff at us because we're all Nintendo fans. Like, you got to go crazy with that. Like, Bomberman versus Waluigi has never starred in his own game, and that's like a widely known fact.
Yeah.
So
now Wario was in a Bomberman game or a Bomberman type game called Wario Blast.
Yes, that might be what he's referencing, but we all know that it's Bomberman versus Wario. Now, here's something else that I'd like to point out is that if you did games that were not officially released, then you have to tell us up front. Because he's saying Cool World is the one, and I am now going to Google Bomberman versus Waluigi.
Unless he's including like fan games, ROM hacks.
Yeah, that's the thing, but we have to know that up front. So, yeah, I'm sorry, Ambassador. It looks like your list is disqualified for the following reasons.
Well, and Cool World is a Super Nintendo game.
And when I know. And when I Google the title...
Unless this was Spot the Real.
Did he say that? Maybe
it's Spot the Real.
Crap! Dang it, Ambassador. It's my fault. It's a Spot the Real, guys.
So Cool World is the one real one. All the rest is fake.
And I failed. I was Ambassador, I was calling you out like you made all the mistakes when in reality,
Yeah.
When in
'cause
reality,
I remember when you
I'm
read
a
it, I
huge
just
dum-dum.
remembered the Muppets Take Manhattan one, and I was like, that's not a real game.
No.
But then the other one sounded even less real.
I'm a huge dum-dum. Big dummy.
You could have fooled me on a couple of those other ones. I
Yeah.
think.
Other than the Waluigi versus Bomberman.
Listen, you know what I need? I need like bold text when you're messing with the format. That's what I need. I would ask that if you're not doing a spot the fake, you're doing something other random game that you'd like to make up. That's fine, but I need you to be clear about that and not just put it in like random normal text of everything. That's what I would ask. My fault. Totally didn't like read your thing thoroughly. There's a lot going on. So, please submit another list, Ambassador, and I will try my best to get it right next time. Moving swiftly on, Liam hits us with another Spot the Fake. Let's make sure I read this correct. Yes, he says Spot the Fake in his text, so I now know that we are looking for a fake game. And I'm going to read them off, and here we go. The first game is called Dinosaurs. Next game is Home Improvement. Gilligan's Island. Alf, The Munsters. So these are all fairly well-known sitcom or
I don't think there was a Munsters video game.
no? Definitely Addams Family.
There were multiple Addams Family video games.
Yes.
I think
it's either that or Dinosaurs.
I think I remember seeing the Dinosaurs game.
Dinosaurs was Super Nintendo. It was the sitcom.
Yeah.
I know the Home Improvement game.
Like Gilligan's Island could very well be an Atari game or something that I've never heard of.
I think
it's probably earlier than.
And I think Alf
I
is
guess
also.
it could be NES.
Yeah, I want to say Alf has like a PlayStation.
I think I've seen Alf before.
Yeah. So you guys think Munsters? I'm going to go Gilligan's Island just to be spicy. And we'll see what the fake game is. We have Dinosaurs.
Oh, see?
Excuse me. How do I even look that up? How do I even look that up? Dinosaurs.
Well,
I thought the sitcom had a game.
Yeah, dude. Okay, now I'm going to have to dig into Wikipedia real quick. Dinosaurs, blah, blah, blah. Dinosaurs TV series, Wikipedia. Plot, main characters. Come on, let's do this. Here are all of the seasons, episodes, topical issues, series finale, international screening, home media, Walt Disney Desert series, and DVD box set. Hulu acquired it. Disney Plus.
So the Munsters was a ZX Spectrum game or a PC game. It was on DOS and also on Atari ST.
Dude, I could have sworn there was a freaking Dinosaurs game.
I could too. I thought it was on Super Nintendo.
What was this Dinosaurs game in your head like? Was it anything?
I know, not that I ever played it, but I remember.
Well, I thought it was based on the sitcom.
I thought I had seen the. Oh my gosh. Dinosaurs show video game.
Nope. Nothing. Nada.
Bro.
Oh, wait a minute. There
What?
was a handheld made by Tiger Electronics.
Does that
No,
count?
we're not going to catch him on a
I don't know.
technicality.
Oh, okay.
No.
You're not going to catch him on a technicality. Good job, Liam. You have fooled the panel.
I've got to post this in the Discord, though.
Wow. Definitely do that. Awesome. Okay, we have another game I'd like to play. This game is called Blank-o-pedia, and I'm going to start reading the description of a game from Wikipedia. As soon as you think you know, hit your buzzer, and I'll let you guess. If you're wrong, I'll give the other person a chance to guess, and if you're both wrong, I'm just going to keep reading until somebody wins. You can buzz in a second time after I keep reading. So, here we go. I have my Wikipedia article pulled up, and I will start reading now. Blank is a fighting game released for the Super NES on November 1993, and later ported to the Sega Genesis.
Killer Instinct. No.
You got to buzz in, though. Was that a guess?
I'm buzzing. No, I didn't buzz.
Okay, Sam, do you have a guess?
I'm guessing it's probably not Street Fighter 2.
Not Street Fighter 2. I'm going to keep reading. Ported to the Sega Genesis in June of 94. The game is a parody of Street Fighter. In 2009, the Genesis version was released in the Wii Virtual Console. Most of the game features a circus theme focused more on humor.
Nope.
Clay Fighter.
Oh,
I didn't buzz correctly.
That's okay. We'll
I
just
was
call
gonna
it out.
I was gonna say Clay Fighter.
I'll just call it out.
Sorry.
I don't know who won that one.
Bad form on me.
We don't have a great method of buzzing here on the show, so we'll just do yell it out next time.
Okay.
I didn't even get to say claymation. I was about to say it features claymation, and then you guys would have all gotten
As soon
it.
as you said circus theme, I
Yeah.
was like, I know exactly what this is.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one. Because, like, it doesn't say anything too revealing until it gets to, like, oh, circus theme, humor, da-da-da-da. But that was a good guess. What would you say, Primal Rage?
No, I initially said Killer Instinct. I think it was...
Oh, but that was never ported to the Genesis, though.
That's why I rebutted. Because as soon as you said that, I was like, that's not it.
That's my thing, is I could think of a couple games where it's like, oh, Pit Fighter or Primal Rage, stuff like that. This is one of those games that for some reason has eluded me that I got to pick up at some point, especially this N64 version that has Earthworm Jim in it. And that's how we play Blank-o-pedia.
I still have my extra complete in box copy of Clay Fighter.
Sweet.
Yeah, for the Super Nintendo game, they actually have that on Piepacker.
Oh, nice.
I believe. Like, by default, you don't have to bring it yourself.
Maybe we should do a tournament.
All right, we got the trivia card.
God, hit that trivia card. This is a trivia card that John's wife bought him a set of video game trivia cards, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not.
Yeah, this one's not. Okay, what's the nickname of Sonic the Hedgehog's best friend, Miles?
Tails?
Yep, Tails.
Prower? What are they asking for?
What's Tails' last name?
Prower. I named my son after him. I know who Tails is. And not really.
Okay,
His name is Miles.
Dr. Eggman is the alias for which popular video game bad guy? Full name.
Professor
Ivan
Xavier
Robotnik?
What is it?
Ivan Robotnik?
Ivo or Evo.
Evo. Okay.
Ivo.
Hold up.
Ivan's close. You got to give me that one.
He's
I
got
don't
a
play
first
Sonic.
name?
Yeah.
No. Call him BS on that. There's no way.
Figured it had to be something stereotypically Russian, right?
Yeah.
No way, Robotnik. I'm glad they're going old school though. The last ones were like, what's this Grand Theft Auto 6 character's name? I'm like, I don't know that. If you want to submit either a Price's Retro list, a Spot the Fake list, or a game for Blank-o-pedia, all you have to do is DM me wherever you can find me. Twitter, Discord are all great places you can DM me at RetroLogic Games on Twitter. And I will give you instructions on how to do so, because we have to follow a strict method to this so that nothing's spoiled. I can read it for the first time on the show and nothing's spoiled. Please DM me and tell me you want to send us trivia stuff, because we love it. It's super fun. It makes the show more fun. Also, if you go to retrologic.games, you can check out our good friend and Price's Retro list submitter Flightsy, who made a database with all of the stats from Season 1 Price's Retro. Who won, who lost, which game was guessed the most expensive game, least expensive game, highest guess, all that stuff. And actually, he's going to be on the show next week to tell us about some of the best, some of the highlights of Season 1 Price's Retro. And that's going to be super cool. Super cool guy. Can't wait to have him on. That's Price's Retro, guys. Y'all want to hit the show topic?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Welcome back.
Okay.
Thanks for sticking with us. Sam is going to lead our show topic this week because it is very related to our blog post. So, Sam, take it away, dude.
Yeah, so kind of just springboarding off that, I kind of outlined some history of Treasure, some thoughts on them, but I want to know what you guys think. So I'll just ask you, Dan, and later John, how did you kind of discover Treasure? Like, what was the first game of theirs that you played? And when did you kind of become more aware of them as a developer? Because if it was pretty early on, you probably didn't pay too much attention to who was making the games you played.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't when I was a kid. And I'm trying to think of what Treasure games I was even aware of back then, because their portfolio was limited on the consoles I played, like a few Sega Genesis games. And so one game that they developed that Adam used to play actually on his Sega CD was a shmup called Sylphid. I believe that was Treasure. But like I didn't find out that was Treasure until much later. I just recognized the box art and said like, oh, that's a Treasure game. We played Sylphid or whatever. We did play Gunstar Advance, Super Gunstar Heroes or whatever, the Game Boy Advance version, and loved that. And I think that was when I sort of realized who they were. Because that's their IP, I believe, right? It was Gunstar Heroes owned by Treasure, not Sega.
Gunstar Heroes was actually the first game they ever released.
Yeah.
They intentionally delayed releasing Ronald McDonald Treasureland to make Gunstar Heroes the first game that they released.
And also Sin and Punishment was actually a pretty infamous game that I was aware of, but had never seen a copy of the N64 game. And then so when the Wii game came out, I was very excited to check that out, knowing the same developer and all that. But yeah, it wasn't until probably the Game Boy Advance, GameCube, when Ikaruga came out on the GameCube. That was a game that everybody in my circle was really excited for. So that's sort of when they became like, oh, this developer has done some really cool stuff. Like, oh, okay. And like, I played Mischief Makers at my friend's house, but it was awesome and I loved it. But like, I didn't know that was Treasure as well. Like there was no, like, now you go back and you can see the through line, but as a kid, you don't, unless you recognize the characters, you're not really looking at like the style of a game or the gameplay or the functionality and saying like, oh, I bet these are all the same developer. Like that's not something you would think of. But I believe that was when I discovered them as a developer and sort of went back and rediscovered the games. Like Dynamite Heady I discovered later, which is now like, man, one of my favorite Sega Genesis games. That kind of stuff where I would go back into their backlog and figure out what I missed. So yeah, that's it for me.
How about you, John?
So the first game that I played would have been Ikaruga as well on the GameCube. But similar to like what Dan was saying, I didn't really know that much about Treasure at the time. I just knew that Ikaruga was cool and that I was playing it. It wasn't until way later, learning about Gunstar Heroes. I didn't have a Sega Genesis, so I missed out on that whole lot of games that they did, early games. So yeah, GameCube definitely would have been the first time that I played one. And I never played Mischief Makers on N64 until recently. That wasn't one that anybody that I knew had, and I definitely didn't have it. So definitely missed out on a lot of cool games that they made early on that I've rediscovered later. So yeah,
that's actually interesting. I was curious if one of you had maybe played one of their Genesis games pretty early on. It looks like I actually got in the earliest with Mischief Makers.
Yeah.
Because we got that game when it was still pretty new. I didn't like it too much at first, and I was stuck on the track and field level for a long time. but I came around to it. Really grew to appreciate it as just being very different from everything else on the console. And it was really like that Wii Virtual Console. That's when I got to play their Genesis stuff, at least Gunstar Heroes. And then also Sin and Punishment on the Wii, Star Successor. But that seems to be kind of a common thing with Treasure, is that you kind of like discover them and go back, because they were critically successful right out the gate with their games on the Genesis, especially. But they never really were too concerned with making something that was going to sell millions. A lot of their philosophy was always based on, we want to make the kind of games that we think are interesting, the kind of games that we, the developers, want to play. And so they were almost always kind of destined to be this sort of like hidden gem for every game that they made in some ways. But in particular, like, it does, you know, looking through that history, it did occur to me that, you know, they really did kind of hit their strong point early in a lot of ways with the Genesis. And that's kind of like my next question then is, what do you think that they could have done differently, particularly around the 5th generation video game consoles? So that's the PlayStation, the Sega Saturn, the N64. Because those games, a lot of people still love them, but they aren't really on the same level as their Genesis output.
I don't know, man. Like, I want to say they almost, as a developer, hit their stride in the N64, Saturn, PlayStation, Dreamcast era. I mean, like they certainly did. Like, they started out, they only made bangers. Like, you know what I mean? But Light Crusader is not amazing.
That's true. I've played Light Crusader. I didn't finish it. I don't really want to finish it.
It's kind of a rushed dungeon crawly. Like, I didn't fall in love with it, but I mean, Guardian Heroes is a masterpiece. Mischief Makers, the only 2D side-scrolling platformer on the N64, a great game in its own right. Radiant Silvergun is legendary. That's, you know, Sin and Punishment, legendary. Those are all now in Ikaruga. Those are all legendary games. I mean, I don't know. You can speak to Silhouette Mirage. I have never played it. It looks cool. But.
Silhouette Mirage, I would say, is definitely a lot more rough around the edges than something like Mischief Makers. I still enjoy it, but it is definitely it's not as approachable as as some of their other games either. The other thing that does occur to me, you know, you just think about who was like the kind of the winner of the console war at that time, and that was the PlayStation. And they didn't really back the PlayStation much. You know, they backed the Saturn, which, as we know, was not widely adopted, never really had the install base. So certainly, commercially speaking, sales-wise, I don't think they were doing themselves any favors. But obviously, we can see, like, they stuck around for a good long time after. Like, it didn't hurt them, per se. I just do wonder, like, if they had maybe had some big hits in this era, would they have been a bigger presence going forward?
And I think that they started to figure, it seems like they started to figure that out and kind of like, quote unquote, do the right thing by taking on some IP, you know, that people recognize, that people would buy almost whether the game was good or not. You know, like it looks like if I go down this list, their first licensed game was this Tiny Toon Adventures game, which I've never heard of, for the Game Boy Advance. And now I need to go find that because I wonder if that's amazing or not. But then, you know, Wario World for the GameCube, which it's like, okay, even though they started to be like, I guess we need to pick up some IP that people are going to recognize if they're going to buy our games. They didn't exactly choose like the most popular I don't know if they even chose it. It might have just been
They did
licensed
some great
to do it.
jobs.
Oh, they did.
With some, like Astro Boy, Omega Factor. I know people love that game. And the price of that game speaks to how in demand it is.
But none of these games are games that, as a kid in 2003, buying games for my Game Boy Advance, I don't know who Astro Boy is. Like, I'm not going to buy that game. And I don't know who Treasure is at the time. Honestly, like Gradius 5, I remember seeing it and being like, oh, like Gradius 3 on my Super Nintendo. I'd buy that. I don't have a PS2. That's a bummer. Like, you know what I mean? That's like...
Yeah, well, it's interesting you bring that up too, though, because that's kind of the other big inflection point in their history is that, Treasure was founded by... Masato Magawa is the guy's name. He's still the president to this day. The company is technically active. They haven't really done much, but they are still around. Mostly ex-Konami employees who were a little bit frustrated with having to work on sequels. They were like, hey, this is great, but we don't want to make Contra and Castlevania the rest of our lives. We want to do something more original. We have this great idea for a game called Gunstar Heroes, and Konami said, no, we want you to make more of what you've been working on. So they, struck out on their own. But that was kind of like the company's foundation was like, they were very much like, we don't want to just make sequels. And you see that, and you even mentioned it before, like, you don't recognize the characters, and they didn't build franchises. They did one-off games, even games that they elaborated on kind of the mechanics, because you can see some through lines. Silhouette Mirage, I think, was developed the same time as Mischief Makers. You see some similarities there.
Oh, yeah.
Alien Soldier definitely feels like a natural progression of Gunstar Heroes. Ikaruga is kind of the last, like, new game that original game that they really put out.
Yeah, that wasn't.
But even that actually did start as the sequel to Radiant Silvergun. But after that, you look at their list of games that they put out, and everything after that is a sequel to one of Treasure's own games, or it is something in an existing property. Now, to be a little bit more charitable, though, Wario World is kind of unlike anything else in the Wario series, even. But nonetheless, it's they're latching on to Nintendo's IP at that point.
Yeah.
And it does feel like they kind of, lost their reason for existing, that they struck out from Konami to do, because now all they're making is sequels. And, in some ways it's like, wow, you made it. Like, Nintendo's letting you have their characters, you're getting recognized to do Gradius 5, like. But at the same time, it does feel like, that's kind of the beginning of the end for this company, at least for that ideal that they initially had.
They, I think it's interesting that like they could very well just be existing on licensing their old games now, because Sega wastes no time releasing a collection of Sega Genesis games anywhere they can, and every time they do, there's Gunstar Heroes and Dynamite Headdy and Alien Soldier and Light Crusader. So, like, whether you want them or not, like, they're there. And even Nintendo with the NSO, they've got Sin and Punishment on there. So Treasure's getting paid to have these licenses, which is nice. Ikaruga is on the Switch eShop. You can buy it, and you pay Treasure when you do that. So, like, the fact that their list of games developed stops in 2014, but they're still existing, is a little sad. It's almost like it's like, well, what are you doing? Like, are you? My ideal mind is like, man, they are working on something amazing. They're working on Sin and Punishment 3 for the Switch, and it's going to be a killer. But, like, probably not, honestly.
Yeah, we'll kind of come back to that, but I did want to kind of pose the other question in that transition, because when people talk about Treasure, and it's probably one of the reasons it's so big amongst retro fans in particular, there is a pretty common perception of them that they are pretty old school in their like design philosophy. And do you think they kind of got left behind by modern games? I mean, it's kind of crazy to think even like into the 2000s, they were still like making shoot 'em ups. Like that's a genre that kind of was dormant at the time. And they're like, no, we can still do interesting things here. Or even like the fact that they were still making sprite based games like Mischief Makers in the early 3D era. It does seem like the idea of modern games just didn't leave space for the kind of games a company like Treasure was making.
There was definitely a push forward in that era, in like the 2000 to 2005. Push forward to big open spaces and fully realized 3D worlds and you know, like racing games and fighting games. And like, that was, you know, if that wasn't what you were making, then you were left behind. Nobody, unless you had a Game Boy Advance, nobody wanted your side scroller, you know, which is probably why they stuck to the Game Boy Advance. You know, they had 2 bangers on the Game Boy Advance, 3, but 4, 5. Well, I don't know how Tiny Toons Adventures is. Now I'm going to go find that. I'm going to go find it right now. I'm going to go buy it. But yeah, it definitely seems like they got left behind. And I think about some developers that like are like who Treasure could be if they, like, Platinum is kind of like they're making like the quick, like high intensity action games now in like a modern sensibility, you know, like that's who's kind of taken up that mantle. And I desperately wish that Treasure would come back somehow, because indie has taken over. And, you know, if they threw a new Gunstar Heroes on the eShop tomorrow for $20, I would not think twice. I'd buy that thing. And I know that there's a huge following that would. But are they willing to take that risk? Do they even have the people anymore to pull that kind of thing off? Yeah. So I feel like they would be more successful in 2021 than they were in 2001.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the other things that they were kind of stubborn about or didn't adapt to the market well in was difficulty. And like their staff readily admitted this. They're like, we make super hard games because all of us play games all the time. Yeah. And we want to make sure the game is still challenging for us, which usually leaves, you know, Joe Gamer hung out to dry in a lot of ways. Some games better than others. Like I actually don't think Gunstar Heroes is terribly hard. Alien Soldier though, oh boy. Yeah. That game is tough.
Yeah, I agree. And even Guardian Heroes to a certain extent is not particularly difficult. I mean, there's more RPG elements that allow you to kind of overcome things. All of their shoot 'em ups though, those are all crazy. Still Feed was impossible.
That's part of the genre, though. I have to say, you
know, and I mean, Mischief Makers isn't that hard. I don't know.
Yeah, Mischief Makers is probably one of their more accessible games, I would say. Stretch Panic's really easy, actually. Yeah. Other than figuring out what to do, but the manual the instruction book actually tells you how to beat all the bosses. So, yeah, it's kind of odd, but at the same time, like, I do think that they struggled to even adapt to like the structure of later games. Like this is something that occurred to me playing Silhouette Mirage. Like it's very odd because it uses the live system, but it also has saves. So you can wind up at a point where like you're on the last level, but you have no extra lives, which makes the game suddenly really hard, even though you've been kind of just whatevering your way through. But then it's like, oh, well, I didn't realize I lost all my lives. I lost 3 lives on level 2 and I kept playing, because they give you like 10 lives for the whole game. Like, it's just a weird way to parse that out. For as much praise as I have for them, I do think like there are some like simple things that they could have done better on.
I think that
I don't know if that would have changed, that would have made this game a huge success. But
on the other hand, they were willing to try stuff. Part of the reason why I love their game so much is because of how unique they are. I mean, I'm watching footage of this Tiny Toon Adventures Buster's Bad Dreams game, and it looks like how
much it costs.
It looks like it's cheap. It looks like a treasure game. Like Bugs Bunny is doing these melee attacks. It's like a boss rush game, I guess, because I only see boss battles. Oh, maybe this video is only boss battles.
Buster's Bad Dream is the PAL version, though. That's why it's cheap. The US version, Scary Dreams, is like $150.
Yeah,
I guess I'm buying
this is one that had like publishing issues, I believe.
But
like it didn't actually get released in
I'm
North
watching
America.
a video of this game, and like Buster's got like melee attacks, and then like you can summon Babs who shoots tennis balls, and then you can summon like other characters that do other stuff, and it's all like combo based. Like, it looks like Treasure made this game. Like, it just has their flair, and all the animation's solid. Like, it looks great. I'm not playing it, obviously, but I mean, it looks really, really good.
It was officially released. I just don't know if numbers weren't that great. So I'm looking at a cart that's official.
I thought there was something weird about the North American release.
There could be.
I looked it up at one point.
It's high dollar though. It's bad.
All right. Well, I'm gonna buy a. Buy
the PAL version. PAL version. Do it.
Why not? Shoot, I'm gonna do it. Yeah. So, what else you got, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do agree, and that's kind of why I've had the kind of impulse to go back and just dig up some of their backlog of games they developed, is because even the ones that I don't think are, even the ones I think are pretty flawed, like Stretch Panic, are incredibly interesting. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no denying that. Like, whatever else can be said about Stretch Panic, it is a game that is not like any other game. And it does have a level of polish that Treasure always brought. The one other thought I just had, and I don't know what else to say about this, but it's weird to think that they gained this reputation for being so, kind of stuck in their ways, so kind of old school in their design mentality, when at the outset they were known for pushing the hardware. They were kind of like at the forefront of the technical level of programming. Like, they said things about like Gunstar Heroes, like, we couldn't do 7-Force on the Super Nintendo. Like, this is something that you can only do on the Genesis, and this is also something only we could do on the Genesis.
Right.
So it's interesting to kind of think about both sides of that. But let's say that they're still working on something. What is your dream comeback game for Treasure? Is it a sequel? Is it something brand new, but maybe in a genre that they're known for?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you two answers, like, because I think realistically they could come back as an indie developer and just crush it, with their existing IP and with brand new stuff, and just do some really great things. So like I said earlier, man, if they just busted out of the gate with a Guardian Heroes or a Gunstar Heroes game, brand new game, eShop, whatever, limited run games, physical release, like that, they'd kill it. That'd be great. Like, that would sell like hotcake. If Treasure had like kept up with the times, like in an alternate timeline where, Treasure made 3D games, like, you know what I mean? Like they kept up with the times. Man, I don't know. Like, what would like Star Fox Zero, except made by Treasure, look like? Like, what would what would like? Man, I don't know. They're just so good at like that frenetic, like, score attack points based thing that I don't know what like a modern. How about a new Wario World?
I mean, that would be pretty cool.
2.5D.
I think we need more Sin and Punishment.
Big time.
Yeah. I mean, from Sin and Punishment, like you really could imagine them maybe taking over Star Fox.
Yep.
Because Sin and Punishment is probably one of the closest things to Star Fox.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that they're put together a lot for a good reason.
And I think the shoot 'em up genre, but with a unique spin on it, almost sums up a lot of what Treasure does.
Mm-hmm.
Between Sin and Punishment and even stuff like Ikaruga, Radiant Silvergun, like it's always got that kind of different twist. They were never content just to make a shoot 'em up, but that was a genre they were always going back to.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot 'em up or a run and gun like Gunstar Heroes.
Mm-hmm. Man, I don't know. What is a 3D run and gun? Third person shooter.
Yeah, that's just a third person shooter.
Yeah,
I guess.
But like, those just aren't as like frenetic as they used to be.
The other thing that I think defines Treasure for me, though, is that they had some of the coolest boss battles ever.
Yeah, big
in
time.
like all of their games.
Mm-hmm.
Mischief Makers still blows my mind. Stretch Panic is almost entirely boss battles, and the boss battles actually are really creative. That's one of the reasons I do still like it. But I don't know. It does feel like we lost something by not having them still putting out like original stuff. I don't know if you guys have any other closing thoughts on that, but I don't have a good way to wrap this whole topic up.
I just want them to come back. Like, I'm glad they're still around, but I just want them to come back. They need to come back. That's how I'm going to end that. I want Treasure come back. 2022 is the year that we see
Treasure come back.
I want some Gunstar Heroes. I just want a new Gunstar Heroes. I want Dynamite Heady 2. That's the thing. I just want sequels of games that I already fell in love with. That's what I want. Bring it on. That's it for me.
Any closing thoughts, John?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Dan. I think it'd be neat to get maybe some sequels that they didn't want to do earlier, but maybe want to do them now. Like, I know they started out, didn't want to do any sequels because that's what they'd been doing. But I would definitely take some more sequels to Sin and Punishment and Gunstar Heroes. And I would even take a Wario World sequel. Let's throw that out there.
People have been asking for it.
Or
Waluigi
World. Yep.
Yes.
Run and gun.
I would
Waluigi.
trust Treasure to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, no one else.
Like
That's why.
Castle
That's
or
why we
something.
haven't had that yet, because Treasure's not here. We need them back. We need them back. Start a petition. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up our topic section for this week. And when we come back, we are going to jump on the community couch. We've got some pretty cool stuff to talk about the community couch. We did our top 5 N64 games for us, but what does the community have to say? What is their top 5 N64 games? All that and a bunch of questions coming up right after this. welcome back. In case you weren't aware, Odama Rama is happening this January. So make sure if you haven't picked up a copy, it might be too late to get one now. No, it's only the 10th. You could get one. You could pick one up and play it in time. Stay tuned to get details about our community podcast, all about Odama, coming later this month. So, last episode, as I said, we did our top 5 N64 games. And we ended up with the following list. We did number 1 is Super Mario 64. Number 2 is Diddy Kong Racing. Number 3 is Star Fox 64. Number 4 is Paper Mario. Number 5 is Majora's Mask. Then I set up a Google form, and I asked our community what their top 5 N64 games are. We gave each place a point value. And then I added all the points up, and we came up with the community's top 5. And I won't bury the lead anymore. I'm going to give you the top 5, and then I'm going to give you some interesting factoids about the survey. So, the RetroLogic community top 5 games for January 2022 for the N64 is number 5 is Mario Kart 64. Number 4 is GoldenEye. Number 3 is Majora's Mask. Number 2 is Super Mario 64. And number 1, which wasn't even on our top 5 list, is Ocarina of Time. Surprising no one, really, because that game is often on the top 5 list of best video games of all time. Oh, no, it was in our top 5. What wasn't on? Oh, Majora's Mask was not in our top 5. Or GoldenEye. Or Mario Kart.
Oh, Majora's Mask was in our top 5. The original top 5.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong top 5. Why did I even put that here? Go away. Yeah, Ocarina of Time is not in our top 5. Neither is Mario Kart. Neither is GoldenEye.
Yep.
Amazing. You guys have very different taste than us. So the survey... So I already told you we assigned points, right? So it was like 5 points for number 1, 4 points for number 2, et cetera, et cetera. And then right after Mario Kart 64, number 5, we've got Star Fox 64, Banjo-Kazooie, Paper Mario, Diddy Kong Racing, WCW, and NWO Revenge, and then Super Smash Bros. And yeah, we also had a section for honorable mentions. And like these honorable mentions are pretty great. I mean, you got Snowboard Kids in here, Perfect Dark, which nobody else voted for on anything, which is surprising. Another Mario Party, Army Men Sarge's Heroes 2, which was Andros's pick. And I had to pick his brain about that because I was like, am I missing out on something here? He said that was his GoldenEye. Like that was the game he and his friends played multiplayer, not GoldenEye. And I'm like, okay, well, cool. So yeah, that was great. List of 63 games. You guys voted on 63 different games, which is like 25% of the entire library of N64 games for North America. Yeah, cool. So we have some community questions here we are going to chat about for a second. Chris HL asked us our thoughts on the latest IGN 100 Best Games of All Time list. Did either of you look at the list?
I did.
It doesn't have Plock on it, so
no
it can't
Plock.
be right.
No Plock, no business. I haven't even looked at it yet, so I'm going to look at it real quick and scroll way down here to number 1, which is Breath of the Wild, which is the greatest game of all time, apparently. Super Mario World. Portal 2.
Yeah,
Guys, I have frequently said that Portal 2 is like the most well-made game of all time. And I stand by that.
I think looking through this list, they must do something like we did with the N64, because there's like no way these are all on one person's list. Like it had to be, by committee.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a weird collection of like genres.
This is IGN's
systems.
list. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, how does Disco Elysium, a game that just came out like last year, take the number 10 spot and beat out Super Mario Brothers 3?
Somebody loves Disco Elysium.
Yeah.
Also, like, how do you compare Disco Elysium to Half-Life 2, which is the next game up? Like,
yeah, I don't.
that's why, like, comparing every game ever is kind of weird. Like, and I know we kind of did it with all N64 games. So, I don't know, we're no better. But, like, this is a lot of games. What else is on here that I like? Blah, 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 blah. The original Portal's 23. Chrono Trigger's 24. Sure, some people got mad it wasn't higher.
Yeah, how
like,
are you going to put BioShock ahead of Chrono Trigger?
I mean, honestly, a lot of the top 20, I'm like, really? But, I mean, that's just me.
Here's Ocarina of Time down here at number 34. Shadow of the Colossus is 39. Resident Evil 4. Metroid Prime should be way higher, 42. Pokemon Yellow, specifically, is 43. I guess that says, like, that's the best version of that generation of Pokemon. It's so overwhelming. There's StarCraft. It's very overwhelming. I don't even know how you, like, do something like this. For clicks. That's why. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Maybe we should make a blog post, Sam, about our top 5 N64 games. And we'll get clicks.
Do you want to do the top
Probably
10 games of all time?
I don't. I really don't. Because I
have a hard time picking favorites if I don't pare it down
yeah.
to some things I can actually compare to each other.
Exactly. So maybe we'll turn our list into a little blog post with like some tidbits about the games and why we chose them. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, as far as like 100 video games through all of history and ranking them, it seems a little, seems like a bit much there. So, Trash Turkey asks us, question for the couch. What game would be the quote unquote eliminator boat duel of N64 NSO? Meaning, what game would the internet boo-hoo about getting added that's actually good? That's a great question there. That's a really good question. John, what do you think? Underdog of the N64 era.
Man, I don't know. There's so many good ones that like you could fit in there that probably a lot of people didn't play, didn't know anything about.
We had some really good suggestions from the community, like Snowboard Kids, Mischief Makers, that kind of stuff.
Because I mean, that's how I look at it. Eliminator Boat Duel is just a game that nobody even knew about before it came to NSO.
Yeah.
Everybody complained about it.
Well, and that's the thing is that like N64's library is so small and it all sold relatively well. So like most people know about most of the N64 games already. There's not a lot of like hidden gems on the N64. Now, I'm looking over at my collection and I see the game Chameleon Twist.
Oh, that's what I was thinking of.
Dude, like, that's a game that people would see and be like, what is that? Literally have never heard of that. And write it off because it looks like crap. When actually, it's an amazing top-down puzzle platformer that all y'all need to play. It's incredible. Love Chameleon Twist.
Or they'd play like for a little bit, but not really understand what the game is.
Get hooked. It's so good. Also, Buck
good
Bumble,
enough to
maybe?
make 2 of them.
Buck Bumble? Yeah, there's 2 of them. Buck Bumble. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the games I played on the N64, I feel like weren't games that a lot of other people were playing.
Yeah.
I mean, Ogre Battle, obviously, Harvest Moon, those types of games.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sticking to Chameleon Twist because that one seems like nobody knows what it like. Even people who love the N64 don't know what Chameleon Twist is. And it's very weird, but it's very good puzzle platformer. So I'm sticking to Community Twist. Yeah. Moving on, we've got Oops with a question. He says, best platformer series on the NES. Are the 3 Mario games better than the 6 Mega Man games? Also, same question for the SNES, Mario World versus DK games. So he's just asking what the best platformer series is on the NES. And
you know I got to stick up for Mega Man.
Yes, you do.
I do.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else, but I mean, Mario is like the pepperoni pizza of platformers. Okay, like everybody loves it. It's a solid choice. It won't let you down. It'll go over well with anybody. But Mega Man is like
the pineapple,
capicola, and banana peppers on pizza. It's my favorite, even if it's not everyone's favorite.
Man, if there was more than one Yonoid game, I would say that. It's an awesome platformer.
Wow. That's some lofty... I don't know, guys. Like, Mario's Mario, and Mega Man is shoot stuff also. I feel like he's more of a shooty game than like a platformer game because his jumping is not good.
It's still considered a platformer.
Is it?
There's a lot of jumping.
Yeah, it's mostly jumping.
All right. I don't know. I don't play a lot of Mega Man. But what about Super Nintendo? Like, there was Mario World and then Yoshi's Island, which are very different games. There's the Donkey Kong Country series.
I think the DK games are better.
Oh, dude, yeah.
I mean, if you're shoehorning in All-Stars, though, then you basically have all the Mario games up to that point.
Yeah, I'd still choose Donkey Kong over that. That's just
I mean, at that point, though, Mario just gets more games.
Now, why aren't there more plot? Why isn't there another Plock? That's what I want to know.
What could have been?
Yeah. Earthworm Jim.
1.5.
Earthworm Jim's sick.
It's not a... I don't like the platforming in it, though.
No.
Like, I know that's what kind of game it is. It's very squishy and, like... I don't know.
Squishy like a worm.
Yeah, the ledge grabs sometimes don't behave the way.
All right, it's not perfect, but I like it. Neo, what?
As I say, I have to go DK on that, I guess.
Yeah, big time DK on the Super Nintendo. Neo Prime 33 asks us, which of these would be the best way for Nintendo to celebrate the Game Boy and its family of systems? Via NSO, the classic system, or some other third thing? Would you guys buy a Game Boy Classic?
They're just going to re-release the Game Boy like exactly how it is, and you just have to find your own games.
What?
Genius.
I don't think that's... No. They want to sell... No. I would
know that everybody would buy one.
Yeah, I would snag a Game Boy Classic like in 2 seconds.
Yeah, I haven't been too much into the like mini systems as much, but I think for the portables it makes a whole lot more sense. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of benefit to that form factor, and because I assume they'd make it smaller and thinner, because I mean the Switch isn't terribly portable. Like, it's not something you put in your pocket.
All they'd have to do is make it like the Game & Watch could do all of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as long as they're generous with the amount of games they give you. And there's actually a lot of Game Boy games I haven't played. Like, I haven't really played the Mario Land games.
Yeah,
or
dude.
the Wario Land games.
I mean, when we did GOTY 30, it was like, man, who's even played that Kid Icarus game? You know?
Well, I have played Kid Icarus.
Of
made
Myth
a
and
point
Monsters.
to get that on 3DS eShop.
But like, you know, Nintendo doesn't want to... Like, we're not going to get an N64 Mini because Nintendo doesn't want to compete with itself. You know, they might sell some to people.
And even before Switch Online apps were a thing, I was saying an N64 Mini was just not a great idea.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting any
both
more.
because of the issues of licensing Rare's games, which, hey, maybe they're working something out, but also because to me, there isn't a point in an N64 mini console unless you can get 4 controllers.
Yeah.
And that would make it too expensive for the price point people want a mini console.
Good luck getting 4 of these, though. Like, I ordered 2, and then I sold one to John because he couldn't get one, and now they're sold out.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you can only order 2 at a time. So the wireless N64 controllers. Yeah, man.
The Genesis ones are sold out too, which everybody complained at how expensive they were. Apparently, they didn't care that much.
It's so weird. Maybe they didn't make that many because they knew. I don't know. Why are they 50 when the Super Nintendo's 30? That's so weird. So freaking weird.
They had to pay for that licensing.
Yeah, I would totally buy a Game Boy Mini. I would also love Game Boy games on NSO. Just what would the third thing be, man? I guess like a Lego set of a Game Boy.
Yeah, I mean, you could see like just Game Boy merch.
That'd be cool.
It's interesting that the Game Boy brand itself kind of faded into the background, and I still think it's a much better name for a portable system than DS ever was.
Yeah.
I think it gets a little bit of hate now because it's not like a game person. That it's has a gender assigned to it.
It was
maybe.
It's from that time period though.
But it was taking inspiration from the Walkman. It was like, oh, it's the Walkman. This is the Game Boy. Like, okay. Tim's second question is, what are your top tips for hunting for good buys? I'm assuming he's talking about retro gaming, collecting. I don't know. What do you guys think? How do you find good stuff? John, you're always picking up stuff from like the flea market or whatever.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. Flea markets, just going to my locals.
Do you talk people down?
Not generally at the flea markets because they're not usually people there. You're buying from a booth that's being operated by a larger entity, so a lot of times the people are not there. Sometimes you can ask if an item has been, if someone's told the person up front that they will take less, or they can make a phone call. I usually don't bother with it because I usually find a good enough deal on what I'm looking at anyway. I don't worry about it. Yeah, definitely checking your locals at least once a week to see what's coming through there, because if you're not catching the new stuff that comes in, everything else just sits. Like you have to, check in periodically to find new stuff.
That's interesting. So I haven't gone to flea markets out here, so I don't know what the market's like there. But when I go to like swap meets or conventions out here, people are totally willing to make a deal with you, especially if you're buying multiple items. People will totally deal with you. And that's probably because usually, well, and I guess it depends. Like some of the booths are run by stores and then they're not going to deal with you because it's an employee. But you get the booths where it's like a guy with some games and you're like, hey, will you take less for this and this and this? And most of the time they'll be like, yeah, they're just trying to make money. They don't care. That's not going to get you like a super good deal. I think my thing is that like, if you're looking for a specific game, then you just either need to be patient or pay the price, because there's no like secret to finding the game you're looking for. You're just going to have to wait to find a good deal, which you may find, at, like every once in a while, my savers will have something pretty good. But for the most part, it's pretty dried up, like the deals in my area.
Those places are getting more expensive.
Yeah, kind of. So you kind of have to be more picky.
Like around where I'm at is mainly like Goodwills.
Mm-hmm.
And I see stuff in there that is like just astronomical. They'll have like a transformer in their case and they want $100 for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just laughing.
So these days, if I'm sometimes I will go trade something in at the local and buy something that they have because I want to support them, and it's in like really good condition, which is an advantage to buying local. So I do that sometimes just to support them. But if I'm looking for a better deal on something and I'm not super picky about the condition, late night eBay auctions is something that I will do sometimes. I will like sort, and not if I'm looking for something specific. What I'll do is I'll search for the word like Sega or Nintendo, something very broad, and then search by ending soonest. And then you just scroll until you find something that's like a really good deal that doesn't have very many bids on it. And then just throw a couple bids and see if you get a good deal. And I've gotten some games for like half off that way because just nobody's watching the clock, or it's not something that a lot of people are searching for, like not a high demand game, but it's still kind of expensive. Because there's
copies like that.
Yeah, because there's a lot on eBay. So some stuff just slips through the cracks. So if you're lucky enough to catch something like that, that's what I'll do late at night if I like have some cash to burn and I want to, especially when I was more heavily doing the store, because I didn't really care what I got as long as it was a good deal and I could resell it. So these days I'm a bit more picky, but if you just want to try to like get lucky, you could do that. Yeah, there's not a lot of like tricks these days. You kind of just have to like be patient and look around.
Be the first one there.
Yeah.
I've found that with Mercari, you can almost always get offers accepted if you just go like 10 or 15% below what they're asking. Mm-hmm. Most people will accept it. So if you shop often, like that adds up.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So there's a guy that I follow on Twitter who always finds crazy deals, and he does a lot of yard sailing. And what he does is he like first he like checks Nextdoor and Craigslist to like make sure he knows where the spots are, and he goes early. Like he's out there 7 a.m. before they're even open, and asking them if they have video games. Like he doesn't waste time. He drives by and he says, "Hey, do you have any video games? I'll buy them from you right now," like before they open. And, 29 times out of 30, they don't. And when they do, it's usually crap. But if you go every weekend and you do that, it's a numbers game. Like he'll come home some days, some Saturdays, and take a picture of it and put it on Twitter. And it's like a ton of GameCube games. And it's like, I got all these for $100. And it's like, you're insane. But like that's the thing, he goes every Friday and every Saturday and every Sunday, and he's there every one of those days at 7 a.m. and that's what he does, so you kind of have to be an insane person if you want to get those kinds of deals. But if you're looking for like a specific game soon, you're just gonna have to pay the price. That's
Pay the man.
Pay the man. Yep. Or trade. Trades are great. Within a trusted community. They're great. So we also have Solo Something, who asks, since they have a lot of buzz around them right now, how will NFTs influence the retro market? I can give you my take, which is that to me, it seems like NFTs are like a rich man's game. Like I don't have the scratch to like go buy a JPEG. And I also don't have the scratch to go buy a WATA sealed rated copy of Super Mario Brothers. So I'm honestly just kind of ignoring all of that. It's
I think for retro specifically, I wouldn't think. There's a lot of like buzz. I know like Square put something out that they got blowback on about, we want to, improve our games with NFTs, and people are like, please don't.
Yeah, Sega did too, I believe.
No, Sega.
I don't think it would really
Sega
have
did-
anything to do with retro games, though.
No, but actually, John, Sega did the opposite. Sega said, we're going to do what's good for the community. So if you guys don't like NFTs, we're not going to use them, because they saw what happened to Square and Konami, and they were like,
Yeah.
"Ugh."
Well, I mean, I think they originally announced that they were going to do something with NFTs,
Oh, really?
and then after all the pushback, they were like, "No, we're not going to do that."
Well, good on them. It just, I don't really understand it, but it just seems like something that benefits the rich and has nothing to do with me. So,
Well, I mean, at this point, it's all about, speculation, as it is with a lot of collectible things. What I think is odd, though, is nobody's really talking about using NFTs as a way to actually just buy a digital game. Because that would, there'd still be other things that have to be in place, but that would be a way of like actually giving the consumer something for their purchase that they would still have at least a proof of ownership after, say, the eShop closes. But nobody's even talking about that. It's all like, oh yeah, you can spend $1 million on a Team Fortress 2 hat, and then it'll be an NFT now, and you can sell it to somebody else for $2 million maybe. It's like, okay, that's not what I'm here for. But I think it is at least an opportunity to maybe reconsider how we treat digital ownership, because that might actually solve some of the problems that exist with digital copies of games versus physical ones. And the main reason it does at least solve one problem, and that is that if you bought a game digitally and it was an NFT, you would be able to resell it, which currently you can't do.
right.
There's no real like functional way to do that. So I don't think it's necessarily like definitionally bad. I think just all the buzz about it is people think they can turn $1 million into $5 million without actually creating something that has intrinsic value, which is never going to last.
Yep. Thanks for the question, Solo Something. Yeah, I think that it is interesting, the concept of being able to resell a digital asset. It's interesting. I haven't seen anything done with it that's meaningful to me in any way yet. So I guess we'll just see. And finally, Flightsy coming at us with a question, and he says, what food have you had recently that you think will make everyone jealous? Ooh. What food have I had recently that would make everyone jealous?
I had some grilled fish that was cooked with lemon juice and what's the seasoning that we used? I can't remember now. It was really good though, real buttery.
What kind of fish?
You would ask me.
Halibut?
No, and it might have even been like a cod.
Cod.
But
Solid.
yep.
So I had, I shot a South Asian wedding recently. And they had, I don't know what it was, but it was like a blackened chicken thing. It was chicken on the bone, and it was all like it was marinated in some orange sort of sauce thing. And then it was blackened, on the grill, and it was amazing. And I don't know what it's called, and I don't know what it is, but I want more of it. That's it.
That sounds good. I haven't made anything super special recently.
Any
I
kind
had
of
Eggs
muffin.
Benedict this weekend.
It's good.
I was actually forgoing my usual muffins, but it was an English muffin. I didn't make it. I just, cut one open.
England made
Poached eggs.
poached eggs. I like poached eggs. Well, hopefully you've been made jealous by our food ramblings. That's just gonna I've been having word problems tonight. I don't know if you've noticed, but I think I'm gonna go to bed. that's all we have for you this episode, guys. Thank you for listening to the RetroLogic podcast. John, Sam, anything else?
Go find those deals.
Go find those deals. Hit up those yard sales. That's where the deals are.
Yeah.
It's a numbers game.
Do it.
Thanks for listening to the RetroLogic podcast. We are proudly part of the Nintendo Dads family of podcasts. If you like what you hear, check me out on Twitter and Instagram at RetroLogic Games. You're also welcome to jump into our friendly and 100% non-toxic Discord community. The link to that is in my Twitter bio. You can also find the Discord link, the merch store, the game store, the blog, and all the links to all the podcasts that we do here at RetroLogic at the website retrologic.games. And if you want to submit a game for a list or a game for RetroLogic Prices Retro Games, make sure you DM me and I will give you instructions. Other than that, thanks for listening and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye now.
Bye.
Did anybody have to go potty? Or take a sip? Or
I'm good.
sneeze or burp or cough or fart? Or take a dump? Or throw up maybe? Whatever you're into?
No.
None of that?
Get in my Xbox refrigerator.
Oh, did you get one?
Yeah, I've been using it.
Yes.
Nice.
The mini fridge, I have a mini fridge in here and I just this week cleaned it out because it got all nasty and moldy over the summer because I may or may not have left some stuff in it. But I cleaned it out, turned it back on, works like a charm. Have a brewski in there right now that I'm saving for special occasion. Like when I beat Odama. Great. So
Might
let's
be in there for a little while.
Shut up. It was like a 6-hour game. I can get through it. We'll see. We'll see if I don't get too
Your
frustrated.
ball doesn't fall between the flappers.